Work from home levels the playing field while antisocials want permanent work from home. Bullshitters desperately want to go back to office because they are being exposed. People who carry the so-called charisma to please people around them, their skip level X and succeed purely on this capability than actual work, are finding that their unfair advantage is going away. Also, factors like height, weight, other physical traits, dresses, shoes, watches, charms that do somehow factor in your confidence no longer exist in online calls. So, it's another way to level the playing field. Saving thousands of hours in commute are trivial advantages of working from home, but the most crucial part is that off levels the playing field quite a bit. I want to continue working from home, but I'm frustrated with having to find time in two calendars to get a decision that could easily be answered by nipping to someone's desk. Planning a project that has various moving parts seems much more complicated than the centralized office whiteboard for discussion and brainstorming. While my productivity is way up, my blockers have doubled just from not being in an office environment and waiting to have conversations. 2 days a week would be perfect. Slack is great for impromptu conversations. Agree on whiteboard. Though, Google Docs does a great job, but not perfect replacement for times when diagrams are truly needed. I'm 2 days a week on site right now, and the balance is perfect. Right now, I'm working on a project and my boss and I mapped out today what we need to work on together and what we can work on independently. I also want some sort of hybrid. I feel like I waste a lot of time waiting to get a response sometimes. For the most part, my team gets back to me very quickly, but sometimes it's not always the case. People just ignoring your mail for a critical update is absolutely painful. Absolutely hate it. Just curious, but how is a Zoom meeting or Slack message not efficient? I find collaboration even easier because people you need to speak to are not always at their desk in the office. So often Zoom Slack can be easier for talking to someone. Bullshitters can still bullshit over the phone just fine. If anything it is easier. Dobdalel 2122 one day ago this. I bullshit half my day and recently got promoted 431 form reply share report save continue this thread. Time of the quality obsessed introverts. They don't shine during regular office times, but with the home office situation, any decent managers gets a clear vision about who does and who doesn't deliver actual work. That's me. I get so tired during the commute that I get less work done in office. Totally. Also, it's a self-reflection for people who thought they were really busy during office days. A lot of it was just water cooler chats, wasting time at cafeteria etc. Suddenly they find themselves searching for work. It should be a huge win for anyone with a disability. No longer at a disadvantage using a wheelchair, being hard of hearing, sight, unable to drive a car due to a condition, food, perfume, allergies, limiting diets, etc. Also, women who are pregnant or nursing can more easily adapt to change while at home. Absolutely. It's what I would do now. I have two temporary disabilities and no diagnosis. Totally understand your point. But for a master procrastinator like me, office is more like a motivational environment to get my shit done. At home I get too easily distracted by non-work related stuff. Same, it got so bad after a few months that I started taking to a therapist, who now has me getting evaluated for On the flip side though, some of the things you mentioned sometimes helps with customer interactions and creating strong bonds with your target audience. The one thing that got brought to my attention was, should people who are working from home be getting paid a little more as they are now having to utilize their own electric and internet for company gain? But to be honest, I've been saving so much money on no commuting costs, not buying new clothes, shoes, dry cleaning, and lunch out. I'm upset I can't save as much if I go back into the office. Actually, there are legislators that want to charge remote workers a work-from-home tax because apparently it isn't fair that some people get to work from home and others can't. This is true, however, I consider it a fair trade given how much money I'd be spending on gas, car upkeep, and work clothes. Seriously, I'd normally wear through at least 2 pairs of work shoes a year. That's not happening now. They should, but they won't because it's a pandemic and we should be grateful to be able to ask for a technology allowance. $175 a month to cover phone and internet etc. And also ask for another allowance for the P and yet another allowance for the iPad. Hypomix 1K ago, it's tax deductible here. 42 reply share report save. Thank you for this perspective. It made me realize something about my own work situation that is super interesting. Basically, that I feel that the people who have never seen me in person always more easily come around to greatly respecting me and my work. It tends to be harder to win that respect when they meet me with their eyes first. Absolutely salient points made, and never thought about this before. However, I will say, as a people leader, I try to make myself look somewhat presentable and try to dress nice from the top up, at least, lol. But you're spot on about lower value employees getting exposed, since companies are fixated much more on output results now, since there are no other distractions. There's also an emphasis on increased collaboration, effective communication, and cultural behavioral fit. With men's one day got replace the word poignant with salient or apt here. 41 reply share report save continue this thread. Charisma also works over video calls, and all the other factors you mentioned except maybe height are clearly discernible on a monitor too. In our meetings there's usually 90 cameras off. You were supposed to have them on, but no one cares. Snack upon 1K a gotcha. Outnovator-based worlds verbal 41 reply share report save continue this thread. I get where you were coming from, but man, does this come off as salty. You, one man's weeding out the underperformers is another man's. Why do I have to learn communication skills? I am an engineer. Part office work, part on the floor. There is so much that I pick up from interacting with mechanics and operators. Useful knowledge that never would have been passed along if I were at home. We worked at the office during most of summer up until November. Told us to off again. They put me under another manager and started training me in new stuff, and this lady was such a micromanager that I started getting so much anxiety even though I was doing my work. I was literally scared to even go pee in my own home in case she called me. So I just asked for permission to start working at the office again permanently. We were allowed to, but in small groups, to hopefully ease off my anxiety, since this lady had trust issues with my work. Obviously, she was still on my ass, so nope, didn't help. I couldn't really focus on the new stuff they were training me in, and the anxiety made my performance go down and I got fired. I did ask for my old duties back, but manager said no. But I got a job 2 days after getting fired, so it's all good and my extreme anxiety is gone. My managers literally do nothing now. Yup. Managers aren't liking the work from home thing. Yeah, I saw my P's calendar when I was helping him book a meeting, and it was pretty empty. Considering all his time used to be spent in and out of meetings, I'm curious how he fills his day now. I'm a bullshitter and don't want to go back to the office. At home I can sleep through meetings and no one will know about it. Hey, doing the bare minimal to stay employed is not the problem. They set that boundary, you didn't. Haha. I had a one-on-one with a guy once and I could hear him snoring. I just silently carried on talking to myself for a bit. They just had a baby around that time. And I know there wasn't a lot of sleeping at nights. Super fun dude too. Back in the 90s, I saw so many unqualified people get jobs just based on their looks. They are probably shitting bricks right now. The Blue Silly 7KC, they shit a brick every birthday anyway. For one reply share report save continue this thread. Lol, what a bullshit post. Everyone else is better than me in person, so I have to hide behind a screen to be considered for anything. With your attitude, I can see why you think that these bullshitters are playing at a higher level than you. Me, I experienced the same thing in my job. Lol, a bunch of the fashionable bullshitters have been purged from the company I work for. They were always running around with a folder tucked under their arm, straight from one person's desk to another, having what people assumed were valuable work discussions. Since we've been work from home, it was right away obvious who was actually doing the work. My department of just 8 people purged 3, and it made absolutely no difference in the workload for the rest of us. They were literally doing nothing in their day but preening and networking on the company's dime. Lol, I just didn't like working from home because I like the structure and routine of an office, especially with living with roommates. Didn't realize that made me a bullshitter who is relying on charisma to get by. But whatever floats your boat. I just chose to interpret the op like the bullshitters all want back into the office, and not everyone that wants back to the office is a bullshitter. There are exceptions to every rule. In this case, op's opinion. Don't take it personally. I would be okay earning an average salary if it meant I had more time. My family are all very successful and hugely driven, to the point it's quite competitive to have a big salary. and live a life of luxury. I came to the realization recently that actually I wouldn't mind earning an average salary, enough to get by and for a holiday once in a while, if it meant I had more free time and my work life was pleasant. But how come it's the opposite? I earn a quarter of what my brother does but work longer hours. I'm under more pressure and stress, and he seems to be constantly on amazing holidays. Is there such thing as a nice simple life? The fallacy is believing a lower pay job has less stress or responsibilities. Replace job stress with not being able to pay your bills stress. Yeah, I work in a team and got told today I need to identify where individuals are struggling. I about asked where's my manager promotion. Last 2 careers I've found myself asking why I or who is my manager for. It's like Tetris with the garbage mentality, except you were the shit-on sibling. There are a few examples of jobs that pay less that aren't that stressful that I can think of, but it really depends on the person who's doing the job and where they were at in life. First off, appearances can be deceiving. I obviously don't know your case specifically, but your brother's life may actually be a living hell that just looks good on Instagram. In many cases, rich people are under a lot more stress than it looks like from the outside. I work a blue-collar manufacturing job, and it is fantastic. I'm lower middle class and work a 4 days on 4 days off schedule. Plenty of time to myself, enough income to have a nice life with my wife, and zero need to think or stress about work in my off time. I've definitely felt judgment from family and friends for not striving higher in life, but I really don't give a shit because I'm happy and have no desire to make more money if it means more stress. So yes, it's definitely possible and amazing to have a more middle-of-the-road job with great work-life balance. Where do you live? Because this is the situation I'm looking for exactly. I think you've got the right attitude. I worked with people who constantly felt the need to strive for more and were judgmental of people in our company who stayed in the same position for 15 years. It seemed like the people who kept reaching for more and more were the most unhappy. I respect the people who chose to be comfortable in their job, make a living that provided good benefits and enough time off each year for a vacation or two. Those people didn't take their work home with them or have a pile of work waiting when they came back from holidays. They just came in, did their job, and enjoyed their free time without any stress. Not to say there's anything wrong with setting goals for yourself, but I just wish it wasn't so frowned upon to strive for comfort and happiness over more money. Agreed. This is a privileged response, but I'd be very open to take a cut for a job that requires less than 32 hours a week. But those don't seem to exist other than extremely low-paying positions. So if I'm going to have to work at least 40 hours, might as well get paid and deal with some stress. I'd be very open to take a cut for a job that requires less than 32 hours a week. But those don't seem to exist other than extremely low-paying positions. Yeah, before COVID struck, I was hoping to convert my full-time position into something part-time. I'm okay with earning 75% of my salary if it means reducing my workweek accordingly. Unfortunately, I'm good at my job and my boss claims he really needs me 5 days a week, not to mention the extreme lack of benefits for anyone working less than 40 hours at the vast majority of jobs across the US. Starbucks, and until Jeff Bezos pulled the plug on it, Whole Foods comes to mind as places that offered health insurance benefits to part-timers. Despite me being full-time at my current job, the mere fact that I was briefly part-time during the annual enrollment period because I worked a second job during the holidays, despite still pulling 32 hours a week at my primary anyways, I was unable to enroll because I wasn't doing 40 hours a week at that very moment in time. Where I live, it is pretty common for even highly educated, mostly women, to have a contract for 32 hours a week, but the problem is you take a pay cut and still end up putting in full-time work. I would 100% always recommend have a full-time contract and just slacking off if you truly don't care. I work 53 and I have no life. That's the exact problem though. The majority of part-time jobs out there are very low-paid, very stressful service jobs. I would happily take a part-time job if it wasn't a high-stress, low-wage service job. I gave up full-time work. It was just too much for my field. I work half-time for a different company and make more per hour, less overall. Yes, I'm good with it. It is enough. As long as you are bringing in enough to live a lifestyle that makes you happy, that's the way to do it. Once you are making enough money to be comfortable and do whatever you enjoy, more money won't make you happier. What is your field, if you don't mind sharing? Tagaxel 14 hours ago. This is where I want to be. More free time, less work. Overall be happy. 418 Rupley share report save. A successful businessman on vacation was at the pier of a small coastal village when a small boat with just one fisherman docked. Inside the small boat were several large yellowfin tuna. The businessman complimented the fisherman on the quality of his fish and asked how long it took to catch them. The fisherman proudly replied, "Every morning, I go out in my boat for 30 minutes to fish. I'm the best fisherman in the village." The businessman, perplexed, then asks the fisherman, "If you were the best, why don't you stay out longer and catch more fish?" "What do you do the rest of the day?" The fisherman replied, "I sleep late, fish a little, play with my children, spend quality time with my wife, and every evening we stroll into the village to drink wine and play guitar with our friends." "I have a full and happy life," the businessman scoffed. "I am successful CEO and have a talent for spotting business opportunities. I can help you be more successful. You should spend more time fishing, and with the proceeds, buy a bigger boat. With the proceeds from the bigger boat, you could buy several boats. Eventually, you would have a fleet of fishing boats with many fishermen. You would have from the Instead of selling your catch to just your friends, you can scale to sell fish to thousands. You can selling yours your sell You could leave this small coastal fishing village and move to the big city, where you can oversee your growing empire. The fisherman asked, "But how long will this all take?" To which the businessman replied, 15, 20 years. "But what then?" asked the fisherman. The businessman laughed and said, "That's the best part. When the time is right, you would announce in a PO and sell your company's stock to the public and become very rich. You would make millions. It's luck and job title. I've noticed in corporate, the higher your role, the cushier it is. You aren't in the trenches. The only downside is that if things go south on your team, you are the first they blame and quickest to get fired. Yeah, I have noticed that too. The higher you are, the less you know what the few seek is happening. Your team is the one who does the work. and you are just sitting there looking pretty, delegating shit left and right, and occasionally sent emails to your team how much you appreciate their work. Lol. This is exactly how it goes in my work, so I in return, although physically I am clocking in my 8 hours workday, making sure I work smart, not hard. There's a sweet spot where you are high enough to get paid well but low enough to not be the one taking on all the responsibility. I earn a quarter of what my brother does but work longer hours. I'm under more pressure and stress, and he seems to be constantly on amazing holidays. Responsibility drives salary more than hours worked. Someone shipping boxes in a warehouse doesn't make $12 sure. Do not message me saying you work in a warehouse and make $15 sure. That's not the point, because the job is easy. They make $12 sure because if they drop something, an order is late, or they don't show up for work, there generally aren't really any consequences that aren't personal. You get fired and someone else takes your place. Jobs that pay more, and let's just focus on the stereotypical ones here: doctors, lawyers, investment bankers, corporate executives, either require a ton of training to do properly, or have serious consequences beyond the individual for failure, or both. Doctors can kill people through mistakes. Lawyers can land innocent people in prison or let guilty ones go free. Investment bankers can lose money for hundreds, thousands, or millions of people. And decisions made by corporate executives can lead to shareholders losing money and employees losing their jobs. Not everyone is cut out for that level of responsibility, and even those that are, well, sometimes they need a break. My suggestion to you would be to figure out what you need to be happy. If that's $100 skier, then start moving towards that. If it is $200, there's your target. If it is only $50, that's up too. The doctors, lawyers, and bankers that have that much responsibility account for a very small percentage of doctors, lawyers, and bankers, let alone white-collar jobs that are that important. Most aren't that important and provide no value. They are arbitrary creations to keep a false economy that we don't need, and to keep people thinking they are important and not revolting. Instead of giving people UBIT, taking advantage of the technology, or giving people less hours, we continue this fraud that these jobs matter when most don't do anything. My suggestion to you would be to figure out what you need to be happy. If that's $100 skier, then start moving towards that. If it is $200, there's your target. If it is only $50, that's up too. Are you saying one can be anything Heshi wants to be as long as Heshi works hard? I had a previous boss say to me that his perception was that people who work part-time aren't necessarily career-driven or prioritizing their role. Well, you know shit. In other shocking news, if you weren't paying me to be here, I wouldn't be here. Interviewer: why do you want to work here? Interviewee gives a flowery bullshit answer that translates to money so I can pay for stuff. I took a 10,000 pay cut in the past year for a 36-hour-a-week job. I work 4 nines for a 3-day weekend every weekend, and I get all government holidays. The only thing that stresses me out about the change is I fear that I've lowered my own value in the labor market. But other than that, I'm able to save and pay my bills and enjoy my life. My exact thoughts: I only have one set of nerves in my life, so in my mind, peaceful, stress-free, paid enough will always triumph high-paying, high-stress. Honestly, it makes me very sad and kinda mad that apparently ranking your own health and personal low-cost hobbies that bring me happiness over a couple more euros a month is weird. This assumes that you are not living paycheck to paycheck in the first place, which is a completely different situation. There is, and it's a balance of working for the right company and making time for yourself. Right now I work for a company that's always busy, always working hard, but I make way less than my old job. My old job was easy as heck. I could take my time, more holidays off, and I got paid more. However, I enjoy my current job because they care about their employees more and more growth potential. I value my time above everything else. It doesn't matter how much I can buy if I don't have time to enjoy it. I don't know, dude. I just got promoted and my level of stress is going significantly up. Some days I don't know how I'll make it through the day, but days like today, when I look back at my finances and realize that half my salary last year was equity and I already make 6 figures. I always, I wouldn't say I've golden handcuffs, maybe silver, but I start to understand the expression, which I maybe be misquoting. I feel this so hard. Mid-six-figure household. Wife and I work 60 weeks each. Just had first kid. And both of us got promoted to management last year with significant tips. And buying first place in night metro area. Stress is all-time high. Work in higher education. I was paid a shit salary, but I had so much time off and often slow days, though it is hard to get into without some experience. I was lucky and had a campus job in Uni that prepared me for later. But yeah, I'd rather have Sweden's working conditions. But I live in America, sadly. Salary is only one point of wealth. What you do with your money is what matters. You need to figure out how much money you need for the lifestyle you want. Save until your dividends on what you saved pay for that lifestyle. There's a financial tipping point where earnings on savings and investments outpace expenses. Time effort is only one of the metrics for what you get paid. Having unique skills and being hard to replace is far more important to boosting your pay. If there was an abundance of super easy jobs with decent pay and lots of free time, everyone would have those jobs. Quander it 11 hours ago. Thanks for the insight. Never thought about it that way. 42 reply share report saved. I feel this. I would gladly make less if it meant I would have a decent job where I only needed to work part-time. What sucks is the majority of jobs that allow part-time work are low-wage service jobs, so no matter how much you cut expenses, there is no way you can afford to live on what they pay. Bill Gates has an infamous quote for this. I'm paraphrasing, but it is: if I had to choose between hiring a lazy person and a hardworking person, I'd choose the lazy person because they'll figure out the easiest way to get the job done since they don't like to work. You need to find a career where you can be good enough to do the job, but not kill yourself getting the job done. That means you can find a career where you streamline your daily tasks and are able to basically do what you want while maintaining your production. If you are able to do this, find a job at a company that is flexible and only cares about you getting your job done. If done correctly, you will only work 36-40 hours a week and can take you up to as you see fit. Even if that is the case, I've always been in businesses where you are expected to stay late and always be on emails. The more you make, the less work you do. That seems to be the thing. The more you make it, this is to be the way, Look at how much her makes, and they literally do nothing all day. If I could do it all over again, I'd go into that profession, since nobody knows what you do all day, and anytime somebody asks, you claim it's employee confidentiality.
Like and subscribe for more Reddit content. Watch the next video at the top of your screen.